Hey there, welcome to CNT Collectibles. I am C. Hope you're doing well, and this is your weekly sports card chart blast where we take a look at the price action of our favorite collectibles. Price is truth. All right. So last week we had a little bit more green than we do this week. So right now we're just looking at the Culture 51 and Entertainment Index on Card Ladder in the green. So the Culture 51 is kind of their index of pop culture cards across the spectrum. So you've got a little bit of sport, F1, some of the offshoots, some of the minor sports or lesser known sports, lesser follow sports, at least over here in the States. But then you'll have movies and weird cards. Let's go with goofball cards. How about that? So I enjoy them as much as any, but that's what they find in the index here. Those are doing all right here. The major sports, football off a few ticks here. Baseball. You don't play, nobody buys your cards, apparently down 33 basis points for the week. And golf pulling up the rear, down nearly 9%. There's a very thin index, not a whole lot of players in there. The broader the index, the less volatility you'll see in the moves. And so the bear market in most cards, and the indices at least, continues. And that's just how it goes. I mean, bear markets they wear you out for the most part here. But what we're here to do is look at individual names and see if we can pick off some opportunities and outline some risk reward. So let's get into it with that Culture 51 index here. One of the bigger risers was the 1995 Panini Smash Hits Nirvana sticker. It's a raw form. It's a $35 sticker, but got a great shot of the trio there. You have Kurt and Novoselic, and of course Dave Grohl, who's still out and about doing his thing with the Foo Fighters. I was supposed to go see their show recently, but with the unfortunate passing of Taylor Hawkins, that has been indefinitely postponed. So I will have Weird Al to keep me busy this weekend. So looking forward to that. But hopefully they get back on the road at some point when they feel comfortable with it. So anyways, nice little pop to be one of the leaders of that index. But still, we're talking about a lower price card here. So if you're looking to have some fun, there you go. All right, the 2022 Zero Cool Jackass trading cards. And I think of the Zero Cool releases, this actually might be the coolest, and the Zero Cool name may not apply here. So it continues its downtrend, perhaps finding some support, but you could say that it was perhaps finding support in here, and it dropped to a lower level, and that's what these things do. They can stair step down, stair step up, whatever. Here's your trend line. Breaks above it, then maybe you'll get some buying interest in there. So that is a sealed box for $135. I don't know much more about it than that. All right, some of the bigger risers in the universe of Card Ladder cards in general, led by Michael Jordan in the raw, $2,500. So difficult to say, hey, I mean, it's condition specific is what it is. So when looking at the raw cards, there could be reasons that it's a $900 card. There could be reasons it's a $5,000 card. So it really depends on the pictures and what people are willing to pay and all that kind of good stuff here. So now you're finding yourself kind of back into the middle of the range, up 285% from the low. So when you get down to that $700-800 area, again, depending on the card, it seems when it gets snapped up pretty quickly. It gets upwards of $6,500, $7,000, whatever, something like that. High price $6,800. So yeah, between $6,500 and $7,000. It gets rejected, and so people are a little more risk averse with the raw cards. Like, why would you get something like that graded? I suppose so. Middle of the range, probably fairest price. Wait for that sub $1,000 price on a good looking one, and that's probably a better option here. The Batman 1966 Topps Batman Black Bat, number one here, 240% with a monster rip. So top of the range here. At that price level, it may be worth it to wait for it to come back into an area. Looks like that. Sounds crazy, but that $200 area is where we see a lot of buying, kind of at the high end. These spikes they don't last too long here. You just run out of buyers at some point here. So monster move, one that's probably best left for the time being. Again, that's a raw. If you find something that looks amazing, then maybe you do pay some more for it. All right, Pidgeot number 8, 1999 Pokemon Jungle in the raw. A lot of sideways action here. We are talking about a $25 to $30 card, so it gets down to like $10 or something like that. People buy it, and in percentage terms, it's a big number. In dollar terms, nobody cares. Well, some people care, I suppose. All right, let's look at some baseball, then we'll wrap it up with some football. Doing fantasy projections are coming out right now, so we're just gonna go right down the list. I think we've got mostly running backs today, just kind of the top draft picks here. So Mike Trout, base PSA 10, longer term uptrend. It was broken a while ago. I mean, honestly, back in here, when you had like 4 or 5 guys pushing it up to that, it was $10,000 at one point, but I think that sale was canceled. But 7 or 8 was kind of the high price there. And we said, just kind of leave it. And back in here, we outlined a few. What we try and do is not we don't call bottoms, right? But what we'll do is say, all right, here's your risk reward. Here's your risk reward. And so we had this nice level of support here at 2,500, and your upper end was about 3,000, and said, all right, and then you get down to the $2,000 level if that breaks, and we're kind of there right now. So that 1850. So it continues to grind lower. So again, you can probably this is matching these previous lows here. So if you were into it, use that as your risk, or just be like me, like, all right, close enough. Just going to buy it, and if it goes lower, so be it. Don't care. I'm not buying. If I was buying $500,000 of these, I would manage the positions differently. I'm buying one, so you got to treat it a little bit different as well. So this is one that I have purchased recently, not a PSA 10, but again, the trend is down. It's at the bottom of its range, and probably goes lower. I don't know. It gets a nice kick from here, maybe. I mean, the risk reward sets up pretty well. But the general trend is still down. It's Mike Trout's like, well, what does he have to do? He's having a really nice season. We know about his long-term prospects in his career. So it's like people are just looking for the new hotness here. And again, those high-priced cards. I mean, there's not money to it's not going to attract a lot of capital here. It's not being treated very well. It's in a downtrend. It keeps grinding lower. People aren't going to put $1,000 into these things if they're trying to make money. And so you've removed a huge component of the people that drove the price upwards, and now you're back to mostly collectors with this kind of stuff here. So until collectors really start to get involved and overwhelm the supply, then these things will continue to grind lower. But for me, I was looking at the BGS 9, and it was a couple hundred. It's like, okay, fine. What if it goes to zero? No big deal. Wanted that card. Got that card. Again, if I was buying 10,000 of them, I would do it differently. But I'm buying one, and now I can say, got that one. This is the one I'm going to look at as well. I'm going to try and do something with this. PSA 9 continues its downtrend. I'll wait on this one here. It's breaking support. Wait for it to get towards the bottom of the range. It's going to be a slow, steady grind. There's a lot of people interested in this, but again, bear markets, they wear you out. So you buy, and then it continues to go down. You're just like, at some point, you just throw up your hands. You just say, I'm just done with this thing, and then that's when you just run out of sellers and the buyers can come in here. So for the time being, we're not there yet. Keep guessing it if you want, but that trend does remain down. But eventually, with these things, it just gets to a price where people are like, hey, good enough for me, and everybody has a different price for that one. So a little bit bigger problem for the market is the 2009 Bowman draft picks prospects, the auto, the big dog, right? Longer term uptrend. This goes back to really almost the beginning of the existence of this card at 2010, and it's been pretty respectful of this range. However, it has broken out of that range here. So there's decent support all the way down. So like a complete collapse, maybe not. But you got a lot of support in that $4,000 area, 4 to 6,000, which is not an insignificant move down. That seems crazy enough, and maybe that's enough to bring people in and say, hey, what a great opportunity, and they can overwhelm the supply of it. But for the time being, that's a problem. So it might get a little bit of a throwback here, but that trend his longer term trend is broken. All right, your home run derby champ. So a little bit lower price, and I think people are saying, oh, maybe this is the next big thing. He's certainly shown it so far, and they're willing to commit a little less capital to some of these names here. So this is where we see some of the relatively lower price stuff really move here. So the junk stuff, not so much, but if you get into the couple $100 cards, people are willing to play around with that a little bit more here. So the 2016 Bowman Chrome Prospects Autograph, this is the base $2,500 card. This was, I think, sub 2,000 for a tick or two here. So here's a pretty decent area of support, and it's starting to bounce out of that. We looked at them last week. The pink refractor and the chrome, and those looked like they'd start to kind of tick up just a little bit here. And so as the pink refractor starts to move up to, again, that $1,200 card or something, people will be like, well, maybe I'll just get this. So that trade-off could be happening here. So those other cards are leading, and as those prices go upwards, it could put some upward pressure on the chrome as well. So hang on support and getting a nice bump. That's a good thing for the Juan Soto market. Bowman's Best refractor, again, right at support and really moving up here. So people are really cool with the lower grade stuff here. PSA 10 was $80 for refractor. That's a pretty nice price there. So I have that one in a raw. I'm good with it, but I would look for a nicer version of the Atomic for me, that's what I'm looking for. So I missed that one, but I wasn't looking for it. So that's how it goes sometimes as well. So can't keep track of all these things here. Bottom of the range with a again pretty monster lift here, really. So from call it $80 up to nearly 200 to around 200. That's a nice move there. So again, as those prices move upwards, it's going to put some upward pressure eventually on some of those bigger cards. So Ronald Acuna Jr. He's an all-star. Voted in at least, but I mean he's playing well. I don't think he had the body of work for this year. But hey, what the heck? He's a great player and good on him. It's for the fans, right? So there it is. Continue to grind lower. Now you're in an area of some congestion here, where we maybe start to see some support if he starts to really pick up his play the back half of the season. That is your X Fractor, and that's as good a price as we've had for a little while, really, a couple of years going back to 2019. Julio Rodriguez, all right, he's getting some attention lately here. Having a terrific season. Probably your eventual Rookie of the Year winner if he can just keep things going, stay healthy. That's a big deal, right? But I mean, this is a terrific all-around player. He's got power. He's got speed. Defense, hitting the ball very, very well here, and got some a little too much love, I think, recently. Here, this was a monster move out of the range on the Megabox Mojo Refractor and a PSA 10. Now it's coming back. Now the question we have to ask ourselves: is this a new range for J-Rod here? So a lot of buying in this area. Can we get a lot of buying in this area and establish what was previously resistance? Is that now support? And so we shall see if this is a fake break. Then you could see a pretty decent move down here. There's a lot of buying in this area, so I don't think it just utterly collapses or anything like that, unless there's some sort of one-off, which we're not going to see anyways. But yeah, a lot of buying, a lot of support here. So we'll see if we get some buying to pick up here, and people, they feel like they missed out, and this is their second chance to step in and buy. So, things don't always have to go in, trends and ranges, they're made to be broken. So, did we break this one, and is J-Rod going to keep going? So for me, before I do anything more with his cards, I will wait for maybe off season or a cool streak. This is probably not the time to do a whole lot with him. So you can see the Chrome Prospects autograph. So uptrend, dude looks like a monster. So I think that's a good longer term play. And really, the age thing is coming into effect. There's some 26-year-old coming up. This is 22, 23 or something, which is a very good number, a very interesting number here. So $1,500 card at the bottom of the range. So risk where it sets up, but my gut just kind of says, hey, at some point maybe this is a $1,000 card again, or just above that. So if you save a couple $100, maybe that's the way to go. I will patiently just watch this one and wait. Player that I am interested in a little bit more, and I still think is a pretty decent buy, at least in some of the lower end stuff, is Jordan Alvarez. I believe your front runner for AL MVP, sneaking out of the range a little bit, and it's thin, so we could see some lower prices on this one here. So. That's a good card. That's the autograph out of $4.99, refractor. So if it does get a whole lot lower, I mean, this guy's talents are there. There's questions about his health, like with all these guys, but he looks like he's looked like the real deal for a few years. I was buying him before the season. Said buy him before the season. So I will continue to buy if his prices want to keep staying range bound. I'm cool with that. So all right, Lubop. This was the big card in the 2020 top set. And, he came up with all the hype in the world. And, he showed it. He demonstrated when he was healthy. And this is a guy that just goes on monster hot streaks. The one thing missing, I think, is the power. He was never really this big power guy. He's got it, but he just, he wasn't, putting up 35, 40 home runs or doing that kind of a pace. So right now he's hitting 300. He's got 12 home runs. And, if he can hit 300 and finish up with 25 bombs or something like that, that's a pretty nice player. But is that elite? Is that commanding of $300-400 prices like an Acuna or anything like that? So it's like, well, not sure we're quite there, but I think he's at a pretty interesting level. Let's not sleep on the skills here. Looks like again the trend is still down on that one. It's thinning out, so I think it'd be pretty easy to overwhelm the existing supply here, but it's going to get pushed around and it's going to be sickening. But it's getting to a point where I think people are just maybe they're sleeping on him a little too much. This is really a pretty terrific player overall. So, but again, if you want to be those high-end cards, you need to do something pretty crazy. And hitting 325 promos, it's really nice. Doing it at a young age, that's great. So it deserves a little bit more than average. But, you're not doing the, hitting the 320, 35 home runs or anything like that. So those upper echelon guys here. All right, and the card ladder index of all players, Ozzie Smith was one of the bigger baseball, I think he was the number one baseball card guy. So he hit the 17 cards in his in the card ladder index for him, and he had a pretty monster rip here. So Here's your previous level of resistance, and now it's support, and it respected that again and got a nice bump. A lot of buying in here could support that overall index. The rookie card is probably the big card there. All right, let's do some football. Just going to go right down the list here, looking at some of the top projected draft picks in fantasy football. Those are the ones that probably get the most attention, honestly. And your rushing leader, Jonathan Taylor. Did he finish? I think he finished as rushing leader, right? Here, Mixon came on strong at the end. I think, I think Taylor wound up with it. I got to look at the numbers again. I don't care yet. So we'll get there. Jonathan Taylor putting in some new lows here, relative recent lows here. So sitting at $335 for that PSA 10 Prism Silver, which it's a little pricey relative to some, but again, if you're the number one guy, you're probably deserving of that price for the time being. Might be worth a wait here. See if you can repeat. Derrick Henry. He's a beast, and he's right in there with that Jonathan Taylor, but he's done it longer. Maybe that's a better relative value. He's coming up on pretty long-term significant support here. So that may be, if you're spending $300 on a running back, maybe that's the one you want to consider over a Jonathan Taylor who's done it for a year. Christian McCaffrey, and I mean Derrick Henry this year can be freed up a little bit with Matty Ice doing the slinging back there. So Christian McCaffrey, Prism Silver, PSA 10, $100. You looked at him last year, you had your level of support started breaking. It's like, all right, who knows? But just watch and wait. And so this is an area of congestion, and we're kind of there again. The trend is down, but you're getting at the lower end of the range. And if he's able to come back and stay healthy, which is a big if, we might have something here. And if he can make his way back up to this previous level of resistance, you're talking $250, which is a pretty nice return on that card. So of the players in the $100 range, I think there's people that want him to do well and will pay for him. If he does well, and he may have some of the bigger upside. Dalvin Cook, $100 card similarly, so it's like you kind of know what you're getting out of Dalvin Cook. He was healthy. He did have a great season. People still don't care, so maybe the C McC card is the way to go between those two here. But old Dalvin here, nice compression, and we're breaking out a bit. So if we get a couple sales there, that's a legit deal. And he's number 5 or 6 off the board, and if he could finish in that top 1 or 2 or something like that, then the prices readjust, and there could be something there. But there's a lot of mouths to feed on that Vikings offense. All right, Joe Mixon, Prism Silver had a nice run down the stretch here. Market does not care. Once it gets if it gets much lower than this, it seems to get snapped up pretty quickly. So be looking for that 50 or under for a quick hit on something like that. And if he does what he did, continues what he was doing in the back half of last year, there's some upside to be had. And we'll wrap it up with Cooper Kupp. Looking at him, beginning of last year, he got off to a pretty hot start, and we had our trajectory and said, it was right around $90. We're like, hey, it's probably worth a shot here. And it was a really nice run. Gets up there in the playoffs, and it was maybe sell if you can hold, but don't buy here. And so wait till the offseason. Well, it's the offseason. Continues to make new lows, and if he gets back into that $100 area, currently it's sitting at $175. So I don't know exactly what that is. Might be a tick about $125 or something like that. Then I think you'll have some interest in this card once again. So again, making new lows, not exactly a bull sign here, so patience, but I think you're probably getting close on a lot of these football guys. So that's what I have for you. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, do all that kind of good stuff, and have a terrific weekend. Bye now.